Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for showing up. My name is Terry Leclerc. I'm the Senior Vice President here at First Team, and I'm super excited to introduce our special guest today. Before I get there, a number of you have heard me speak in the past and recently, and I talk about how grateful and how grateful I am to our 18 or 19 managers that we have in our First team, and how we're so lucky and fortunate to be able to drive 18 world-class leaders to you on a continuous basis on a Wednesday during Mastery, and also in your offices, of course, because you're experiencing them every day. You know, it's almost more pleasurable to be able to introduce to you Mike Patel, who is one of our senior agents, and I don't mean in age, of course. He's been in the business for 17 years. He is really well looked upon his peers. He drives a lot of business and is very effective in what he does, and he is giving of his time, obviously. And that's what we love about First Team, is the fact that we have some great realtors that share their experiences, that share their wealth of knowledge. And it's a really nice place to be in when we can all share and learn from each other. And our managers are great, but we're not in the trenches anymore. So to be able to have you come to us and offer your time and your services and your expertise to teach other people and your peers what you're learning on the street and what's effectively working for you, it's a great thing. So I'd like to introduce Mike Patel again, 17 years in the business. He's out of our Anaheim Hills office. So if you have any referrals, we want to send them to Mike. He would appreciate your referrals, of course. That's a plug, Mike.
Okay,
I get 5% of that. No, I'm just joking. But Mike Patel is going to talk to you today about over-the-phone prospecting and how to make it fun and, more importantly, exciting. So Mike, thank you very much for showing up.
Thank you all. Thanks for coming. And I appreciate First Team and Terry giving me the chance and honor to give you my presentation. I'll make sure that since you're giving me so much time, an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I'll make sure that you get something out of it and be assured that you will get something out of it. So I'm going to get right into it because time is money for everybody, especially for realtors, because we have limited time. So I want to talk about, obviously, we want to talk about over-the-phone prospecting. But what I'm going to talk about today applies to any kind of prospecting, be it farming or door knocking or calling your sphere of influence. Because after all, we are realtors. And somebody told me a couple of weeks ago, we are realtors. But if I asked you, what are we truly? We are salespeople, right? We are salesperson, and we have to be proud about it. For the first 5, 6, 7 years, I was kind of not too sure about, oh, I'm a salesperson. People think I'm cheesy or don't trust me. But I'm very proud after so many years. I feel like I'm a proud salesperson, and we should all feel that way. And as salespeople, what's our job? Our job is to find clients, whether we sell cars or houses or pens, is to find clients and connect them with the product and make sure that they're satisfied and happy, so we get a referral and we continue with that. So what I'll talk about, although I'm going to talk about over-the-phone prospecting, it applies to any kind of sales, especially when it comes to you getting the sales, because as salespeople, we have to go get the sales. I used to own retail stores twice. I used to have a flower shop and a Hallmark shop. All I did all day was stand behind the counters. People walked in, I bought the flowers and balloons, and they walked out. Sales business, we have to go to them. And to do that, that's what we call is active marketing, active prospecting versus passive, where you just stand there and hope somebody comes. So that's what I'm going to talk about. But before I get started, I'm sure we want to learn something. And the reason we want to learn something is because we have set goals, whatever that goals are, right? We have goals to sell 10 homes or 15 homes or one $30 million house. And that'll take care of it for a couple of years. So we have the goals, and we get the goals, and sometimes we don't reach the goals. So I was reading a magazine this morning. It just came in yesterday. It's called the Selling Magazine. And I get this magazine once a quarter from the Mike Ferry organization. And the first thing I read is, and it applies to me and applies to you all as well. It says here, do you need to change the goal, or do you need to change your behavior? Okay, so it got me thinking. So I have an example. I was driving down here, and I thought, well, how can I apply that? So I'll give you a quick example how you have a goal and how your behavior can not affect your production. For example, my wife wants me to be healthy. Of course, I want to be healthy, but for the last 10 days, she started making smoothies. So for the last week or so, she makes a smoothie, and because I'm on the run, she packs me this to-go thing. It's a straw with the things, I drink it in my car. I said, why you do this? I don't want it. And the reason I don't want it, because when I put it in my car, I have a nice car, and it goes in the cup, and I was going to say hate it, but I won't say that. I put the cup in the middle. It gets in my way of the hand because I like to move things and pick up my phone. And number two, when I go to the office, I have my bag, I have my magazines, I have my water. Now I have to pick up the cup to drop it in the garbage. So I don't want to help, but see, that's my behavior. My wife's goal or my goal is to eat healthy food, right? Instead of a donut, why don't I eat this? But my behavior that I don't like this and I don't like that stops me from doing my calls. Well, I don't like it because when I call, they're going to be rude, so I'm not going to call. So is that your behavior? Or is that your goal to not call? So I think they go hand in hand. So you have to, and one of the things, like I said, I'm going to talk about is mostly attitude. Over the phone prospecting is more attitude, just like farming and open house, than calling itself. And I don't like to call cold calling because it's not really cold calling. And I'll talk about it more, but basically it's over the phone prospecting because you're calling your sphere, you're calling your friends, you're calling your lender, your bank person, say, hey, Cindy, who do you know wants to buy or sell? That's not a cold call. And that's our job, by the way. That's why we ask it. Our job is to ask for business every day, period. If you ask for it, you will get business. And one of the ways to do it very efficiently, very effectively, very profitably is calling. And I've been in business 15, 17 years. I started calling, and I've been calling since. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So let me tell you why we should prospect or why it's profitable for me. I'll give you a couple examples. Number one, how many of you have Zillow or Zillow accounts with paid memberships? If you look at the average, most people have Zillow accounts or Trulia or Homes.com or Realtor.com. You've bought zip codes, right? How many of you signed up voluntarily versus they called you and say, hey, Bob, 92807 zip code is available, 25% impression. Do you want to buy it? Buy it today or you won't get it. Most of the agents get cold called. Did you know that the most realtors are the most vulnerable people out there? You get cold. I get 2 or 3 calls every day from a vendor. Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, these people, every day. Why do they do it? It works on realtors. So shouldn't realtors do that? Basic 101 math, right? And I bought stuff. When people call me, I listen to them because I want them to sell me. And I tell them, hey, you were good, but do this. I'm just kind of, So think about it. Talk about, we have elections coming up next year. We have Red Cross. We have city council people coming. Do they call you? Hey, vote for me. I'm the mayor. I'm going to be the mayor. Vote for me. How long have they been calling? And how long will they keep calling? There was an article out there that we've all heard of Generation X and Ys and the baby boomers, and we've heard of the millennials and the Gen Ys. But there's a new thing coming out, and we're all too old for that, but there's digital kids coming out. They'll be totally digital. They won't know what the swing is. They won't know what the park is. They'll be everything online. They'll play, eat food, everything online. They're digital kids, and it's coming. So the way the trend is going, don't you think people want to be talked to face or on the phone rather than just text and emails and social media and Facebook where, there was a birthday today and 200 people wished her birthday today. How many people called them? I have been sending happy birthday to all my Facebook friends every day. What if I call one person every day and say, hey, Laura, happy birthday to you, or Jennifer, happy birthday to you? Would I stand out? So when you call somebody, hey, Terry, have you thought about moving or selling? Would you stand out? Especially if you have the enthusiasm and the energy and the smile, would you stand out? Would it be effective? So we'll talk about that, but I'm just giving you an idea. I want you to understand that it's all attitude and your expectations on it. So here's another statistic that I'll give you, and then we'll get into the ways to have fun and how to make profitable business out of calling. One more thing, that there was a statistics done by a website, it's called the dailymail.uk.co. It's from England area. They did a study about in 2013, and they said that like an average person, this is US person, looks at their phone about 110 times a day. Of course, that includes text and email and social media, but that's how many times we look at the phone. I'm already missing my phone. Oh, it's there somewhere. So, there somewhere. Oh, he has it. Okay. And another statistics done by the website called Daily Mail. Actually, what is it called? EliteDaily.com. It's a website journal, and they said an average person, they look at the phone 6 times a minute. So if you don't look at it that many times, on average, it's six times a minute. That's how. So when you call somebody, do you think they'll be excited to pick up the phone? or they'll be scared to pick up the phone. So if you're calling them, will they be excited? Whether they're working or giving a presentation or not, they will pick up the phone all the time. People pick up phones. So I hope you understand that any kind of prospecting, and the key thing is, what are your thoughts on prospecting? That's the key. It doesn't matter what you do, how good you are, but if you don't have the right attitude, right mindset, right expectation, it won't work. But if you have the right expectation, right attitude, and a good habit, it's profitable. Just like doing open houses every weekend, doing farming every weekend, or it will work. So let's get into the points, and I'm going to talk about how we can make it fun, effective, and efficient, because we don't want to do the same thing over and over, and it's not efficient. So before I get started on these, does anybody have any questions or anything that would like me to touch on so that I can include that in the material that I have? I know we're just getting started, but if you do, it's open. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer as we go along. So feel free to answer any questions. So here's another thing about attitude, and I'll give you the 6 points. Another key point. Remember I told you it's not cold calling, it's mindset. So I'll give you an example, and I'm not sure if it's going to fly here, but I'm going to try to see if it flies. When you call somebody, your attitude should be, I'm going to call somebody. Now, when somebody gets married, it's the future wife, right? The wife is supposed to be a future wife and not just the wife. So you must have the attitude that, you know what, I'm going to call somebody and they live in this neighborhood, but they are my neighbors. I'm not cold calling. Hey, these are my neighbors. I live in Anaheim Hills. I'm on XYZ track and they're on ABC track, but they're my neighbors. I'm going to call them and I'm going to help them find a buyer or seller. That should be your mindset. It's not a call. You're not calling strangers. I'm helping my friends. When you call expires, I know people, oh my God, I don't want to call expires. I don't want to call for sale by owners. Those people are rough. No, the way I should think about, doesn't mean that I think about like that. The way you should have the attitude is, I'm going to call expires and FSBOs. The poor seller tried to sell the home, could not sell the home. They need my help. I'm a professional. I'm a salesperson. I know that area. They need my help, so I'm going to call them. Hey, Mr. Expires, I can help you. I know you're frustrated. I know you didn't sell. I know that agent or the company didn't do it, but I'm going to help you. Think of it as they are your patients. So when I call expired, I'm not a doctor, but I pretend I'm a doctor. I'm going to help that patient of mine find a cure, and the cure is selling their home. So if you have that attitude or that mindset, it's easy. Because look, most of the time, and I know this because I've been there, and I know a lot of agents that I talk to, it has the fear of calling. Oh my God, Facebook is an expert. Don't. They're your patients. You're going to help them. And I think that'll really help you. So let's talk about, I've written 6 fun things that you can do to make it help more fun, right? Make a fun thing fun. So first of all is you have your expectations. Like I said, when I call somebody, whether it's a neighbor that I just listed a house in, I'm calling the neighborhood, or I'm calling for sale by owners, is when you start calling, and hopefully you do that consistently every day or every other day or whenever you want to do it, depending on what other things you do. Because I'm sure we do 2 or 3 different things: calling, open houses, farming, networking. So when you have your expectation to call, the first thing you should expect is, you know what, not everybody's going to answer. Like this lady that, what is her name, ma'am? What's your name?
Beth.
Yeah. Beth, you mentioned that, hey, I got 100 numbers and only 10, 15 answered over there. That's fine. If you know that, hey, cool. Hey, I got 100 numbers, 15 are going to answer today. Hey, that's fun. Yeah. I don't expect 30, but then I'm disappointed. You know what? So 15, hey, that's your attitude. I'm going to talk to 15 people today. I'm going to dial 100 times or talk to 15 people. That's fun if you know your numbers. You also know that when you call somebody, they may be busy. Maybe mom's feeding the child, or mom's feeding the dog, or mom's taking care of grandma. Oh, I don't want to talk right now. I'm too busy. She'll hang up on you. Hey, I'm fine with that. So that's an expectation. Okay. Other things could happen is they may get mad at you, because they're mad at their daughter or somebody, or the husband who doesn't drink their smoothie every day. They may get mad. So I know that when I call, some of these people that's my opinion. So I don't care. I don't take it personally. I'm going to keep calling. I'm going to do my 100 dials. So that number one thing is have your expectations. And your goal is to get a lead out of it. Hey, do you want to sell or buy? Well, no, my dog is sick right now. Call me tomorrow. Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. Now that goes to follow. Okay, that's point number 1. Point number 2 is know your numbers. And we just touched on that with Beth. Know your numbers means My goal, for example, and I'm just giving a number, and somebody's goal should be talk to 5 people a day, 10 people a day, maybe 20 people a day. Some people, I know some agents talk to 30 people a day. Every day, that's all they do, talk to 30 people a day. And they make over $1 million a year in gross sales, just from calling. So know your numbers. What is your goal? 20 people a day, 30 people a day, and get better at it. And then you should know that, hey, if I call 10 people a day, am I going to get a lead? Or every third day I may get an appointment. So what's your goal? Your goal on calling is, of course, to get an appointment for a buyer or a seller, but your goal should be to get leads. And we'll talk about that because 30%, you get 30% of the time you get leads from calling. 30% of calling is getting leads, and then 70% of your calling should be lead follow-up. That's the average numbers, and we'll talk about that more. So know your numbers. I know that if I dial 100 people, if Beth dials 100 people, she's going to talk to 15 people. And out of the 15 people, maybe half a person may want to sell. Or if I take 200 numbers, one person may think about selling. That's a lead for me. Now, what do I do with the lead? And I'll talk to you about that later on. How to process a lead, and also what a lead is to you. Your lead might be different than mine. So we'll talk about that. So if you know your numbers, you don't get disappointed, because the last thing we want to do is we want to make this fun. We want to go every day to work, and every day we want to have fun. When I had my flower shop, I used to go there every day, open up at 8 o'clock, get in the storage. It was cold, put the flowers out. Even though it was cold in the cooler, and I don't like cold, I made it fun because that's what I had to do every day. Put them in the cooler, turn on the lights, do whatever. Make it a habit. And then the other thing is know your stats. And the reason you want to know your stats is when you're calling somebody in a neighborhood, they may ask you, well, hey, this is Mike Patel, and I just sold a house on X Street. It sold for $999. Have you thought about moving or selling? And then she's going to start asking you stuff. Well, I thought the market was slow, so I don't want to sell. I want to wait a year. Well, I can appreciate you want to wait a year, but if I can show you the market is strong right now, you have time to talk to me. So if you know the numbers, then you can talk more confidently, more like a salesperson, because now you're confident. It's not, oh, which house is she talking about? And there was a house behind the street. So know the numbers in the track or in the zip code or in the city. So when you call them, you know what to expect and you feel confident. The whole thing about calling, or even if you door knock, it's the same thing. Or if you're in an open house, you're in an open house and she's going to ask you, well, what did that house two blocks down, and you don't know about it? You look dumb. You're not an expert. You're not the local expert. So know your numbers, not only how many you dial and how many will talk, but also what the stats are. How long does it take to sell? How long is going to stay on the market? What percentage are they selling? If I list it at $1 million, are they selling at $950? Or are they selling overpriced like they used to 5 months ago? Not anymore. Now it takes them longer to sell. So if you know those things, you can talk confidently and you can act like a salesperson, because you are a salesperson. Sellers and buyers want professionals. One way to be a professional is knowing your numbers while you're talking to them. You don't have to know them all the time. You don't have to know about all the numbers, just where you work. We all work in a certain area, certain zip codes, or we all call in a certain area of zip codes. So be an expert in that. On that day, you're the expert of that day. If I'm calling a for sale buyer in Cyprus, which is way out of my area, I'm going to look it up before I call him. It take me 2 minutes. While I dial, I can punch the computer and it gives you the stats. On the PWR, if you know, there's a PWR report. So while I'm dialing, you go to zip code and the stats are right there. You don't have to be a genius. It's right there. So let's move on to the next one, which is, and you've heard this before in sales, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but you've heard about this, that every call or every no is closer to yes, right? I mean, every door knock, no, there's a yes. But I'm going to add a dollar value to it, and I'm not going to get into calculations, but I'll give you a very brief example on how each call, and let's say in my case, I have 2 primary business sources, 2 or 3 actually. One of them is calling, and my calling, what I'm talking about today, includes expireds and cold call around an area. It also includes my sphere of influence and people I know and my past clients. So I know that according to my statistics, let's take a number, or let's take somebody's number and have top agents, and they make, let's say, $200,000 a year. And out of the 200,000, the 100,000 is from calling their sphere and all that. So I know that if that agent calls 20 people a day, right, and works 240 days a year, which is almost 5 days a week, and taking a month off, and making 20 calls a day, an average price of $500,000, what that boils down to is that every call that you close, it's $27 for each call. So I know that every call I'm making, and assuming I'm confident and I'm into it, then every call that I dial and talk to, it's worth $27. Your numbers might be different. You may be selling $1 million house. Your numbers may be $50 a call. But know that every dial that you make or every door that you knock, right, it's worth $10, $20, $50. So don't get disappointed, because as salespeople, we get disappointed, right? I mean, we get beaten up every day. But that's why we're salesperson, so that's why we read and we listen to tapes and we come to these seminars and we look at other agents' production, and we want to grow and learn, because that's our job, and the business changes every day, so we have to change every day. And first team is giving us great tools to do that. So thanks Terry, and thanks to the first team. So anyway, so far, any questions or any concerns, or should I just continue? We good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Good. Because I'm going to be done in like 15 minutes. And I'm fast. No, I'm just kidding. We have quite a few things to cover. And just to let you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to still have a few more points on the fun. We're going to talk about how to make it effective. We're just talking about how this is all fun, right? Because I want to go to work every day. I want to go to the flower shop every day, get in that cooler. I don't want to. I'm going to go in there. I want to wear my jacket. Same thing. I want to go to the office, get my coffee, maybe juice or smoothie that my wife gave me, which I don't want. But I want to make it fun. So I want to go to the office and right now we're just getting to the calling part. I'm going to talk about how to make it effective. Yeah. So, yeah.
On your call, Mike, you're talking about attitude.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a call that really throws you off, in other words, surprises you with what they say, and you don't get a chance to respond, how do you get yourself back on that attitude track if it throws you off?
You mean when they hang up, for example, or give me an example and I'll try to tell you, because it's kind of hard to, Well, first of all, you expect that, right? I know some people are going to hang up. And I know that if they hang up, that's fine. They were not mad at me. It depends who's hanging up. If I'm calling a just listed and he hangs up at me, that's fine. If I'm calling an FIS for sale buyer and say, my wife is a realtor, I don't want to talk to you, she hangs up. If I call my best client, Terry, he hangs up on me, I got a problem. Then it depends what I said. What did I tell him? Did I say him something that he hung up on me? So it all depends what you say, how you say. But to answer the question differently, is if you say it the right way, and if you use the right tone, which we're going to talk about, people won't hang up on you. People won't get mad at you, because the way you're talking to them, they won't hang up on you. They can't.
Sure.
So I don't expect anybody's going to hang up on you. I do expect people to hang up on you, but you know what? They're busy. They're fixing a car. I talked to a gentleman today and he was fixing his car. He said, oh, you realtors, I was fixing my car. I had to stop the jack or whatever. So I know he got upset, but is he upset at me? No. So I think it all boils down to, did you expect someone to get mad? My wife gets mad at me, and that's my expectation. Yeah, it is. So, it's fine. But if I get mad at her, that's a whole new story. I don't want to get mad at her. I'm just kidding, but you know what I'm saying? It's fine if they get mad. But the thing is, as long as your sphere of influence, your past clients, they're not getting mad at you. Maybe you said something, and so make sure you don't repeat that to the next client, because last thing you want to do is lose your past client or sphere of influence, because that's where the business is. And I get although I call a lot of my business comes from my sphere and past clients and people I know, and I do call them. I just call them up, hey Bob, how are you? Haven't talked to you in a while. How's your golf game? Blah, blah, blah. And just say, oh, by the way, anybody I can call to help answer any questions about real estate? Oh no, what's the interest rate today? They're always going to ask you that question. So I do call those people. I don't expect you to tell me and give me a referral. I'm not going to get upset. Hey, Bob, who do you know that I can call that wants to buy today? And if you say no, I'm not going to get upset. But if they tell me, well, you call me every week and ask me the same thing, then I need to change what I'm talking to them about. So you need to know who you're calling, how often you call, and that's where you have your CRM system, your contact management system. That's where you know. You make a note. I talked to Bob on August 5th. I'm going to talk to him in September. Make a note. So when I'm calling, I know last time I talked to you. Hey, Bob, last time I talked to you, I know you had your ankle was sprained. How's that doing? So I know that because it's in my notes. And while you're dialing, you just check your notes. So I think if you have to answer your question, sorry for the long answer. Expect some people are going to get mad, but if you say the right thing and say it the right way, they have no reason to get mad at you. Okay. Here's another one that's fun to me. It's not really fun, but it's fun. Prospecting over the phone, it's free, and that's what I like most. I'm a business person. Before I was a salesperson, I was a business person. Like I said, I used to have a flower shop and a hallmark shop, and I did other property management, and I'm into numbers. And one of the most profitable way to do business in real estate is over the phone prospecting because it's free, totally free. I'll give you an example. 45 days ago, I called an expired first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock like I do. I called this lady. I got the appointment at 7 o'clock that night. I went to the appointment. There was 3 realtors that they interviewed. She called me the next day and I got the listing. And I think I told Terry about this. It was a $300,000 condo. It was listed for $329,000. I listed it for $312,000 because the price was high. And my rule of thumb is I drop off 3% of the price off the top. That's my, if I don't know the comps, I knock out 3% right off the top. So I listed for $312,000. It sold at $303,000 in 1 week. Just closed it 2 days ago, and I got a $9,000 gross check. Zero cost. I did not make flyers. I did not need any signs because it's a condo, and first team pays for the signs. Zero cost. $9,000. That's why I like calling. Here's one reason. Of course, I get business, but of course, we are salespeople. But what's our objective? Pay our bills. We have kids or cars, iPhones, iPads. So that's profit right there. So for me, it's free. Because I know some agents, a lot of agents spend a lot of money on marketing. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But the bottom line is how much are you taking home? After your splits, you have expense, right? MLS fees and PWRs. After your taxes, how much are you taking? That's the number you should look at. Don't look at the gross. Don't look at your split. After all your expenses, MLS dues, gas, iPhones, iPads, marketing, how much are you taking? Is that enough? That's the number you should be looking at. So it works for me. It may not work for everybody, but it works for me, and I've been doing this for a long time, so it does. The seventh way to have fun when you're calling, and I love this part of the business because some people get mad at you. Oh yeah, you realtors are all the same, blah blah blah. And some people, especially when I call senior people, they want to talk to you, or single moms, or they're just bored, or and they tell you stories. Oh, my neighbor's doing this and this. And in fact, she's looking at the window. And have fun. Sometimes take a few minutes and have fun with it because you just got beaten up by the last call. Oh, your realtor's all the same. Hang up on you. The next call. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the dog. So listen to them, and then sometimes those people that you listen to. Oh, by the way, I can appreciate blah blah. Ask for referral. Who do you know in your neighborhood? Since you know a lot of people, do you know if the neighbors that are changing the garden to the water-free zone gardening, do they know if they're going to sell? And she must, oh yeah, you know what? They are thinking about selling. That's why they're changing the garden. Ooh. So listen to them no matter what they say. I mean, I'm not saying be there for half an hour, but every 3 to 5 minutes, or give them time and listen to them, because one of the things that I've learned myself is that, I'm not going to generalize, but most salespeople that I know, they like to talk. And the key is listening. And when you're calling, even though you're in control, you want to talk and you want to ask them questions, but you want to listen to them because you will get leads from it, and they become your friends. And those are the people that listen to you. And she'll say, oh, next time you need to come by, so go see them. Put them in your database, and this is your referral network. You don't have to be in business for 10 years, 5 years to get a referral network. You just got a lead. You don't know them. Go say hello. Drop a $5 Starbucks card. She just became your fan. Mail her something every month. Call her every month. Hey, who do you know wants to buy a house? That's your referral right there. A lot of new agent sellers, I have to be in 10 years to get referrals. You don't. Here's one system. You listen to them, make them your fan. So, good.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where do you get your telephone numbers for calling your expireds?
For the expireds, you can get it yourself, but there's companies out there. I used to use the REAP expireds, and I'll give you the numbers later. But there's 3 or 4 websites that we use. One of them is REAP, REAP007.com. They're local. There's other companies called RedX, REDX.com, right, Louis?
Yeah.
redx.com, there's vulcan.com. There's so many companies out there. If you Google them, there's so many. They charge you anywhere from $50 all the way up to $300 per month. But the good thing is they email you every morning, expires in a certain area. So if you work in Corona or Newport Beach, there's a certain area they email it to you. So we buy them because I don't want to spend my time looking for numbers because I'd rather call. Because by the time I find one number, Googling or going to Facebook or whatever, I've already called 5 people. Okay, so you got those websites. Did you write them down? You got them? It's redx.com and vulcan7.com. I think it's VULCAN and then number 7.com. And that's $300 a month, $300 per month. And that includes the dialer. Most of these include the dialer, so they dial for you. It's an efficient way of doing it. So instead of you dialing, it dials the number for you. So it's very fast. So. All right, so we're at 2:30. We're gonna talk about how to make calling effective and efficient because we have a schedule. Flower shop, for example, my shop was open from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. I had a certain time to do business, right? So I want to make sure that whoever comes in, there was flowers, there was lights, whatever, because at 6 o'clock I'm going to close, shut down. So same thing when you're calling, let's say you call for an hour a day or 2 hours a day. Some agents call 3 hours a day. Or maybe you call once a month or once a week. No matter what you call, you want to make that very efficient and effective, right? So you want to be very effective because then you're going to go door knock and then you're going to do open house and then you're going to go to the BNI meeting or chambers meeting. There's so much to do. So when you start calling, you want to make it efficient. You want to make it effective. I'm going to call 20 people today. I want to leave. That's my mindset. So here are some ways I'll share with you how to make it effective and efficient. And this is very important that you have these numbers because it's very important that you have a certain result from calling. Otherwise, why would you do it? If you go to an open house and nobody comes up, every week, 2 or 3 people show up and you have 20 signs out there, you're not going to do it. So how can you make it better? Maybe you want to put 50 signs or pass out cards or put it on openhouse.com, whatever. How do you make it better? Because if it's not working, make it better. So I have 6 or 7 things again that I'll go through. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me that. So the first one, and we've talked about this before, how to make it effective, is know your numbers. Okay, same thing, know your numbers, know your numbers. In this case, last time we talked about if I dial 20, I may get 1 lead, and if I get 10 leads, I may get 1 appointment. This time, when you're calling, the numbers you want to know is the same thing we talked about before, is know your stats. Again, click on that PWR reports, do you have the stats, or go to trends graphics. I use the first team trend graphics when I go to an appointment, or if I'm calling, I kind of just go through it, what's happening in the last 6 months or 1 year. Because when I call an area, I call 300, 400 numbers. So it may take me a couple of weeks to call that area because I call 20 a day or whatever. So I need to know what's happening in there. So know your numbers, how many you're going to call per hour, what are the stats. And also the key thing is track your numbers. Track your number, that's very key because I heard, and I'm sure you've heard this before, when numbers, or let's take numbers as performance, right? Car, how do you buy a car? It's a performance, right? 0 to 60 in 3 seconds now, the STI car. So when performance, like a car, is measured, you know whether it's good or bad. So when you're calling, you want to track your numbers because the way to improve your performance is to track it. So write down how many you call. I have a cheat sheet, and if you want, send me an email, I'll send you a copy. Every day I call 5 expires, 5 FISBOs, or whatever, I track it. So I look at my average, okay, end of the week I talked to 100 people, I got 0 appointments. So not a very good performance. How can I make it better? Don't eat donuts while you're calling. Don't think about your wife when you're calling because you're thinking about your wife, or don't think about your future wife. So track your performance, and every time you track your performance, automatically you'll improve your performance. It's a very key factor. I think this is a very important point. And then know what to say. Wow. Know what to say. That's always the case. And I think by know what to say doesn't mean you have to be an expert at handling objections. That's not the point here. they're gonna throw you curveballs. You know, they're gonna say, well, yeah, I'm gonna list your home, but what will you charge for your commission? Well, you know, yeah, I might sell, but I have a friend in the business. You know, or they might say, well, I don't know you, why are you calling me? But I do want to sell, but I don't know you. So when they do those things, what do you tell them? Will you cut your commission? Well, that's a great question. You want me to cut your commission? But you know what, Luis, I don't even know if you're gonna start thinking about selling. So are you telling me you're thinking about selling since you asked me that question? Go ahead and role play that. Let's see what comes up with it. So let's say you tell me, I just called you and say, well, yeah, I may think about selling, but what do you charge for your commission? And this is the first time I called you.
What do I charge for my commission?
Yeah, just ask me, well, what do you
Okay.
charge?
Well, what do you charge for your commission?
But thanks for asking me, Luis. So, this is a just listed call. That's the first thing he tells me, right? And all I know is Luis's name. So yeah, thanks for asking that. So you want to know how much I charge commission when I sell a home?
Correct, yes.
I'll be glad to answer that, Luis. But before I answer that, are you saying that you're thinking about selling in the future?
Well, maybe, but I mean, I'll give you the listing, but it's gonna be at a lower commission rate.
Okay,
you know?
great. Yeah, you know what? And I'll be glad to talk to you about it. So when you do sell, where are you going to move to?
Well, it depends if I get what I want, if I get the
Okay.
price that I want.
Great. Okay. So you'll sell if you get what the price you want. But do you have a price in mind? I'm sure you've gone to open houses and some agents have dropped off flyers. You have any idea what your house is worth, Luis?
I would probably say 600,000.
Okay, great. Okay. So what you're saying is if I can get you 600 or any agent can get you 600, you will consider moving?
I mean, possibly, yeah.
Okay, great. And what time frame and where would you go, Luis?
Honestly, maybe some Temecula.
Okay, great. Temecula. Yeah, I was just there at the Pachanga, lost a lot of money, but that's a new story. So Pachanga, so when would that be? I'm just curious, you know.
Within the next 6 months, I think.
Wow, 6 months. That sounds exciting, going to Temecula, selling it. So let me ask you this, Luis, and I know I don't know you and I just called you, and I know commission is important to you. So what you're telling me is that you want to sell the house, but you want to make the most money, save some commission, right?
Correct.
When you go to Temecula. Now, do you have to sell this house to buy that, or you want to rent this one out?
I would probably sell this house.
Okay. And you know what? What I'd like to do is if you have time today at 5 o'clock or maybe tomorrow, let me come over, take a look at your house, see what I can get you, maybe 600, maybe 650, maybe 550, talk about our commission, and go from there. There's no obligation. So how's 5 o'clock tonight?
You can mail me something. That'd be better.
Well, I'll be glad to mail you, but I'm right down the street from you. Can I drop it off tonight?
Yeah, you can just leave it on the front doorstep.
Okay, sure, I'll do that. I mean, there's nobody else going to take that package right now. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I'll be glad to do that. But seriously, Luis, you are thinking about moving, right? Are you aware that the market is slowing down a little bit? Have you noticed that?
I'm not too sure.
Okay, so if I can show you how I can save you money on charging commission, if I can show you that if you sell your home in the next 30 to 40 days, take advantage of the still strong market, take advantage of the interest rate, would you be open to just talking to me? No obligations.
My wife typically makes the decisions.
Great. Is she going to be there at 6 tonight, or tomorrow is better for her also?
I have to call her. I'm not sure.
Great. And I would do the same thing because my wife makes all the decisions. So let's do this. Let's make it for tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It's a Saturday. I'm assuming she's going to be home. But I'll call you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And if you're not there, I won't come at 6. We'll reschedule. If not, let me plan on coming at 6. And I'll also drop off the package. We'll talk about the commission and your move. How's that? No obligation at all.
How long is it going to be?
It'll be 15 minutes. Usually my presentations are very short. If you have any questions, it may go to 30 minutes.
Yeah, all right. We can
Okay.
do that.
We'll see you at 6 then.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
So basically, remember I said, listen to what they say. So when they ask you out of the blues, what kind of sellers will ask you certain questions? If they're not going to sell, they're going to bother asking you. So when they ask you a question, know what to say. You know what to say when you listen to them. So depending on what they say, answer those questions. And that could be a lead. He may not sell for a year, but now I have a lead, right? So I'm going to go on the door, make some contacts, follow up. And it just happened he gave me an appointment. He may not end up listing because it's not a very hot lead, but it's a lead. So that's why it's important to know what to say. So basically, I didn't answer how much I charge, right? That was not the point. Because if I said I charge you 4%, is he going to list with me on the phone? He won't. So you never handle objections on the phone unless it's for the appointment. Because he's not going to sign the contract. So that's why you need to know what to say, how to say. Okay? So let's go to the next point. Now, this is kind of important. A lot of you may use this technique, you may not. But always when you call, you always use tonality and the speed and the voice modulation. Like I talk fast a little bit. I'm usually very fast. So when I call somebody, they think, oh my, he's a fast talker, he's a stealer or liar, right? That's a general thing. Statistically speaking, that's what they think. If you're very slow, people think you're, I won't say dumb, but I'm going to say dumb, right? That's the percent, that's statistics, so it's no bad feeling, right? So when you call somebody and somebody says, what do you want? And it's a fast speech or aggressive, you want to answer in that tone. Well, I'm looking for Bob. Is this Bob? Yeah, what do you want? Well, I just want to find out if you're thinking about moving or selling. So use the same language. If I call a lady and say, oh, hi, this is Susie. How can I help you? Hi, this is Mike. I just had a quick question. No, you really have to do that. That's very important because what happens is if a child walks in here, kind of runs and lost, how do you talk to the child? Right? You go down and say, oh, you're so cute. How can you talk to baby language, right? It's a technique. Or if a grandmother walks in or a grandpa walks in, how do you talk to him? Right? I don't talk to him, hey, do you want to sell? I'm going to be nice and gentle and slow because that's how he is. So what happens, you're kind of trying to connect with him. So when you cold call your friends, if they're low toned or slow, talk slow and talk like them, at least in the beginning. Because you all know this, right? People talk to people like that, right? Your friends probably are like yours. Most friends have the same kind of friends. You go out golfing, or you go out tennis, you go out for dinner, you talk the same way, you're same. So what happens is you want to connect to them. Once you connect to them, then you can change. Your key when you're calling is you want to get into the conversation. Once you go to the third, fourth question, you're in. The toughest part is getting to the first, second questions. Well, this is Mike Patel. When do you plan on moving? I don't want to think about moving. I'll never move. I have my realtor. So the thing is you got to get in their comfort zone. And the way to do that is use the tonality, the voice, and their speed of talking. And it takes practice, but you may want to practice that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the next point would be using versatility. And I've been taught, and I went to a seminar, Mike Frey's seminar, and he says that this is the least used technique of all. He says that most of us lose more business than what we do because we don't use versatility. I'll give you an example. Let's say I call Louise up and he's the kind of person, the way he say things, I don't like it. So what am I going to do on the phone? You know what? I don't want to work with this guy. So we hang up and move on, right? But we're salespeople. It doesn't matter who they are, right? If I go to a car lot and meet the salesperson, it doesn't matter how I'm dressed. I could be, a hippie kind, tattoos, but he has to work with me. He may be in a suit, or he may be in shorts and t-shirt, and I go in a three-piece suit. He may have to work with me, right? So you have to find out whether it's on the phone or on the listing presentation. And I'm going to give you an example, especially on a listing presentation, what kind of person he is. And I think Alex, was that? Felix, I'm so sorry, I'm bad at names. Felix, he talked about it yesterday, and I'm glad you talked about that. He talked about 4 personalities. We all have, but there's 4 personalities, and we are one of that, only one of those. Either you're a driver, or you're an amiable person, or you're an expressive, or you're an analytical person. You can only be one. Of course, you have a second to it, but first you're one. You're either a driver, or expressive, or analytical, or amiable. Most of the teachers, nurses want to help people. They're amiable people. Most of the engineers, CPAs, IT people are analytical. Not all the time, but you get the point. So when you go to a house or on the phone and you're talking to an analytical person, and I'm an amiable, I want to help you. I want to get you a house with flowers in the garden. And the guy's analytical. He doesn't care. I'll give you an example. 15 years ago, I remember this. I still go to Toastmasters, by the way. Toastmasters. How many of you have heard Toastmasters International? I've been going to that for 15 years. I highly recommend you join, especially for salespeople. So I had a friend of mine, and he's the first person that ever took me out to golf. And while he took me out, he said, my dad wants to sell his house. So, and I'm new at that time. This was 15, 16 years ago, pretty new. And I'm new in the business. I don't know a lot of stuff. Took me to Rio Belinda. It's a ranch home. I don't even know what a ranch home is at that time. So my dad wants to sell. I go there. I don't know the comps because it's a custom home. So I'm doing a listing presentation, and I told him that, you know what, I want to sell your home, but my goal is to sell the house so that you can give me a referrals. I want to find a buyer who's going to love your house. You know, I'm an amiable type at that time. And he goes, he started using the F word. I don't F. I just want my money and you F in this. And I'm amiable, right? So I'm saying, oh, you're not, but I want to find you a great buyer. I said, I don't effing care. I just want the money. Guess what happened? I didn't get the listing. Right? But imagine if I was versatile, I didn't know this. Imagine I say, you know what, you are right. I don't care who effing buyer is coming. As long as you get your money, and as long as I get my effing commission, that's right at the contract, right? So that's versatility. And I lost, and that was, at that time, it was a $600,000 house. So he listed with somebody, it sold. I lost a lot of money back then because I did not use versatility. So on the phone, try to figure out, once you tonality and you're talking, that's why you want to listen. See, it always comes down to listening. What kind of person is this? Is Louis analytical? Is he amiable? So if it's amiable, talk amiable. If it's expressive, oh yeah, you know, I love flowers and I love this, and I like pink ties. And, you know, so it does help. I mean, these are those little techniques that takes you, the difference between the good and the great is the little things, right? You read the book. So again, that boils down to matching your personality. So there's two sides to versatility. One is that you will get more business by using versatility or by knowing who you're talking to, what personality type it is. But more than that, how much business have we as agents lost? That's the bigger question. He says, Mike Ferry says that we lose more business by not being versatile. So if I sell 20 homes a year, I probably didn't sell 20 other homes. So if you're selling 10 homes right now, you should have sold 20 just by using that. And I just gave you an example. And we do it all the time because we're stuck in our way. That's why these classes, knowing social media, you know, now what I do is when I have an appointment, I Facebook them, find out who they are, what are they posting. If they post about mountains and flowers, I know what kind of person they are, right? I check them out. I go to LinkedIn, what are they saying? Oh, I like to donate. Oh, yeah, she's an amiable person. She likes to donate. She likes the dog pictures, you know, this and that. Check them out. Very hard. And we'll talk about that. In fact, the next point is scripts. And part of this asking scripts, questions from the scripts is finding out who they are. So is this making sense? Anybody has any questions or everybody good? Great. All right, so now our next point is scripts. And I think that's the last point, and we'll do the role play later on. So scripts, this may take a few minutes. So most agents fight using scripts. Now what's a script? Script is just a bunch of questions and you just follow them. And the scripts are everywhere. You can create your own scripts, whether you're calling a buyer or seller or you're in an open house or you're calling your friends, or they're available with MikeFerry.com, and you go to TomFerry.com, and you go to BrianBuffini.com. They're free scripts everywhere. Use the one that you are comfortable with. I've been using the Mike Ferry script for the last 10, 15 years. Same scripts. And I should have memorized them by now, but I don't because I'm just lazy. But they're the same scripts that worked 15 years ago, 20 years ago, pre-social media, they work right now. Like I said, people love to get calls. So, and most people will not use scripts because they don't want to ask this question. But the key of using the scripts is take the script and use it to your personality. Right? I may be expressive, so the way I ask the question may be different than the one who's amiable. You know, she may ask it differently. So use your character, your personality, but use the script. And I'll talk about the advantages of using the script. There's 6, 7 points. I'll just touch on it. The first one is it keeps you on track. Remember, you want to get into conversation. You have an hour or 2 hours. You want to make those 20 calls. So when they start talking about the market, and I know about the market, well, I can understand you know the market. But let me ask you this. How many have sold in your area? Ask the next question, you take control. That's another point. So it keeps you on track because no matter what they say, right, go to the next question. And we'll talk about the script. We'll do an example so you know what I'm talking about. Anything they say, you ask the first question, hey, when do you plan on moving? Well, it depends on what you charge or whatever they respond because they say different things. Well, I'll move in the market. How many times have you heard about I'll move when they take me out in a casket? Right? You've heard all that. If you cold call, I hear that all the time. Right? So what's the next question? Well, in that case, there's no other question, just move on. Well, when you gonna stop right there. The other thing is, you know what to ask. So every time you call, you ask a first question. Well, I noticed your home came up on the computer as an expired listing, and I was just planning to see when are you planning on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling a home. Well, you agents are all the same. I don't know this. I'm going to sell it on my own. When I can appreciate you sound frustrated and you want to sell it on your own, let me ask you, if you ever sold this home, where would you have gone next? Well, I would have gone to Temecula. Oh, great. You want to go to Temecula. Well, when would that be? So no matter what they say, ask the next question. Now you've got control. So if you sold this home, where would you go? Well, that's none of your business. I can appreciate that. You sound frustrated. Yeah, I'm frustrated. Are you telling me that you still want to sell the home because you're talking to all these agents, because then just don't answer the phone? Sometimes you get aggressive. Yeah, I do want to sell the home. Okay. So when you sell the home, what would your next agent do? What do you expect your next agent to do? See, so you are in control. Doesn't matter what, just go to the next question, next question, next question. And the other reason is, no matter what they say, you know what to, because we're always scared of what to say. So this will tell you how to respond to any questions. Okay? And then the thing to remember is, no matter what they say, you never argue. So this avoids you from arguing with them, because sometimes we are frustrated. Well, you agents are all the same. Well, not me. I work for Tarbell. I'm not the kind of, I'm first, I'm just kidding. I work for first year. I'm not that kind of agent. And we have our ego, right? We all have egos. Yeah, salespeople. We have egos, so we want to argue with them. But with the scripts, don't argue. No matter what they say, repeat it. I understand you're frustrated with the agents. Let me ask you, if you sold this home, where would you? So that avoids you from arguing, because the last thing you want to do is get in. And believe me, I've argued. A lot of people have hung up on me over the years, and I've lost a lot of business, but that's part of business, right? You can't get everybody. It's like baseball, you can't hit them all. You gotta have mishits to have, Babe Ruth, what's his record? Hitting the most, right? I'm not sure, but baseball, Babe Ruth had one of the highest record of hitting the ball. He also had the highest no-hitters, very high no-hitters, but because of that, they complement each other, so, okay? So the next point within the scripts is, always they're going to throw an objection to you. Well, yeah, we're going to sell the home, but we're going to find an agent who charges the least. Oh, great. Whenever they throw an objection, that's an invitation for an appointment, right? If I wasn't going to sell a home, do I care how much you charge? Or do I care which company you're with? But if you ask somebody, well, if you sell this home, where would you go next? And they say, well, what company are you with? Why is he asking me that? Listen to him. Why is he asking me that? He may be selling you. Well, what do you charge if I sell? So you have to listen to them. Or he may throw you an objection. Well, if I sell this home, can you take a 30-day listing? Right? So no matter what, people are going to object with you. And I'm going to show you a technique here that I've been taught, and I use it all the time, is first thing is you always repeat. You never argue, but there's a process on when they throw you an objection. So let's say I'm cold calling, and there's two kinds of objections. One is on the phone, right, where you're trying to get an appointment. You're not trying to list. But the other one is you're at the appointment where you're trying to sign the contract to get you the listing, right? So it works on both cases. So if somebody throws you an objection, well, Mike, I'll list with you if you cut your commission. And of course, we don't want to cut our commission. So no matter what they say, you always agree with them. Well, I can appreciate you want me to cut your commission. Always repeat it, the first thing. So the process is repeat. It's called the RAC, R-A-A-C. So the first thing you do is you repeat whatever they say, no matter what they say. Well, I'm going to list with Tarbell. I don't like first team. You like Tarbell. You don't like first team. I totally understand that. Agree with them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that Tarbell is better than us, right? Always, because then, oh, this guy is listening. So no matter what they say, repeat what they say. And then, hey, I can appreciate you like Tarbell. May I ask you what you like about them? Well, they have red signs. Well, great. I like the red signs. When people tell you stuff like that, believe me, they come up with, because they're testing you. Sometimes they're just testing you, right? So acknowledge them. Hey, I can appreciate you like Tarbell. May I ask you what you like or don't like or whatever. I'm just throwing up thing. And then ask them or acknowledge them. If your goal is to get an appointment, so if I can show you that when it comes to selling a home, blue signs are better than red. If I can prove that to you, would you at least talk to me? Right? So that's acknowledging and asking for an appointment. And then you close them. Well, yeah, so can I come at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock better, where I can prove to you that blue signs sell more home than red signs? How's 5 o'clock today or 6 better? That's close. So no matter what they say, whether it's on the phone, you repeat, you acknowledge, you ask for answer, and then you close. Okay, can we go on? Anybody have any questions, any comments? All right. So that's going to conclude my effectiveness. So I'm just going to give you some pointers, and then we'll go into role play. And then I'm going to talk about, we'll do our live demo on like a call just listed or expired. And then I'm going to talk briefly about the follow-up system. Because remember I said earlier, calling, when you call, chances are you get a lot of leads, right? Your objective when you're calling is getting leads. Yes, it is to get an appointment, but it's not always. When you door knock, you don't always want an appointment, right? Hey, do you want to sell your home? Can I come in? Your objective right now is to get leads. Because when you have a bunch of leads, and you don't want too many leads, and we'll talk about that too, your certain amount of leads, then you want to follow up with them. The key, most appointments are made on follow-ups. They're not made on your cold calls or your calls. So it's very important that you have if you're going to be cold calling or warm calling or calling your sphere, you must have a very good follow-up system, otherwise you're wasting your time. It's like open house. You have a great open house. You put 100 signs, you have a food truck, and you have neighbors coming in. You got 50 people coming, and out of the 50, 25 signed and sent you emails, right? They were good enough. Other people didn't care because they had agents or they were nosy neighbors, whatever. If you don't follow up with those 25 leads that you got, right, what's the point? So same thing with this. So follow-up is very important. We'll talk a little bit how I do the follow-up and some of the systems I use, which is very simple and very cost-effective. So some of the points that I want to talk about is, for me and for a lot of agents that I know and associate with, calling in general really works well. Really, really works well. I'll give you an example. Here are the scripts. See these? And I, laminated these. It cost me $4. But I know that these two papers cost me $4, makes me $50,000 to $100,000 a year, right here. So it's very effective. I know some agents making $200,000, $300,000 just from calling. So it's very effective. If you put your mind to it, and if you put your consistency to it, if you learn some objections, which is not very hard. In real estate, they say there's 10 objections. If you know those 10, you'll find. Will you cut your commission? Will you give me a 9-day listing? I have a friend in the business. I like Remax versus First Team. The same objections over and there's no other objections. If you learn those 5, because usually the objections you get, in reality, you want to learn 5 objections. Which are those 5 objections? Depending on your conversation with them, you get those same objections all the time because you portray those objections. So it's Luis gets the same question all the time. How much will you cut your commission? He's saying something in the listing presentation that they give him that objection. When I say that, hey, I want a 6 months listing, and they tell me all the time, no, I'm only giving you 30-day listing, and I get that all the time, then they're telling me they don't trust me, right? So whatever you say, whatever you portray, you are getting those 5 objections. So maybe the next week or so, write down the objections you get. It'll be the same 5 ones over and over again. Just memorize those and you're good to go. Forget the other 5 or 10. I get these objections all the time. I want to wait 2 or 3 weeks. I get it all the time. So I'm saying something that they cause me to say that. Call me in 2 or 3 weeks. That's all they tell me every day I hear that. So I need to learn what am I saying that tells them, because they're not giving me that appointment. So the other point is that when you call, you will get leads. And leads is somebody who wants to sell now or maybe in a year, depending on what you define it as a lead. Then once you get those leads, you incubate them, you follow up with them, and you will get appointments. And once you get appointments, you will have sales. The last 2 points I want to talk about is, let's say you're not too skilled and you don't want to learn all these things and you don't want to learn the objections and the voice modulations, all that. Just make calls. I can guarantee you that if you go knock on doors, I don't want to sell, I don't want to sell, I don't want to sell, I want to sell. Even if you just call, somebody's going to say yes. A lot of times I get the listing not because I'm good, it's because right time, right person, right place, period. I've made many appointments. Most of the appointments, I don't get, when I call expireds, a lot of the appointments I get is follow-up, but a lot of times the ones I get it in the first question I ask them. And I get an appointment right, it's right, they were ready to go. Hey, Louise, this is Mike Patel. Have you thought about moving or selling? I noticed your house came off the market. When do you plan on selling? Well, yeah, I want to sell, but my wife is in Arizona. As soon as she comes, I want to sell. Great. When is your wife coming back? Oh, she's coming Saturday. Great. Coming back on Saturday. What time? 2 o'clock. Oh, can I come at 6 o'clock? Okay. Bang. The condo that I got for $300,000, I called her up, and first question, she said, yeah, we're thinking about selling. Our agent didn't do a good job. We really need to sell. It was a rental for them. I said, great, I'm glad you think about selling. When's the best time to meet you, today or tomorrow? Well, I'm meeting 2 agents today. Great. What time are you meeting them? One is at 5, one is at 6. Great. Can I come at 7? She said, yeah. And I always go 15 minutes early. So at 6:45, I go there, and guess who's there at 7 o'clock? Other agent. At 5 to 7, those agents walked out because I was there early. And I got the appointment, I sold it. So it's a pure numbers game. Sometimes you don't have to be smart. You don't have to know all the objections. It's strictly a numbers game. You don't want to do that because then you get burned out, right? So you want to get better at your calling. So, and the one point I did not talk about, and which is my last point, and we'll do the role play, is that it was my 8th point, which I skipped, and I'll talk about right now. The key to calling, and the number one, if you take anything today, take this point out, is that you have to be enthusiastic and energetic when you call, period. Doesn't matter how good you are, how smart you are, you know, all the objections. But if you, hey, Terry, this is Mike, I noticed your house came on the market. When do you plan on interviewing agents? You're not going to get it, period. Why? But 2 reasons. One, we're on the phone. So when I say, hi, Terry, this is Mike Patel, that's what he's hearing, right? Face to face. Guess how he's hearing on the phone, because only 60% of the voice go through on the phone, I think, right? When I say, hi, Terry, this is Mike Patel, it's even low. So on the phone, you have to be, hi, this is Mike Patel, Terry, from First Team Real Estate. When do you plan on moving? So you have to be high energy, at least in the beginning, to get their conversation, because, you know, first of all, you don't know what kind of phone they have. Or a lot of the numbers I call is a cell phone. They may be in the car driving, or they could be in the park, or they could be in a grocery store. It happens all the time because now I get cell phone numbers. So you have to be high energy. So stand up and call. In fact, I'm just going to order that very desk that, and you have to stand up and call, because singers, when they sing, do they usually sit or do they stand and sing? And usually the mics are not here, but they're higher, right? Because they're projecting the voice. So if there's one thing you take away today, is that you have to be very energetic and you have to be very enthusiastic. And I'll give you a couple of pointers how to be energy and enthusiastic. One of them is when your wife gives you a smoothie, you drink it. That's one side point. But eat healthy food, go to the gym, go to a walk, go for a jog, because action creates emotions. And we're in a business where there's a lot of emotions, right? They bang you down. Read books, have affirmations, do all that. You have to do that. As salespeople, we have to do that. So like I said, if you take one thing out, have a lot of energy, enthusiasm, whatever you need to do to get your energy, enthusiasm, which is exercise, good diet, lots of donuts, that helps me, sure. And so we'll leave it at that. We'll do the demo, but anybody has any questions or any comments?
On these services that sell the phone numbers, are they given to a bunch of agents? So these customers are being
Everybody gets it.
called all the time?
Right. But here's the secret. Not a lot of people call.
Okay.
You know, one of the most common things I get when I call, and I'm usually calling, assuming you call before 9 o'clock, you're the 7th or 10th person calling. Oh, and what's your name, sir?
Emil.
Hamil. Say, hey, Hamil, I appreciate only 10 people call, but did you know that in Orange County there's over 10,000 people and only 10 people called you? I'm surprised. I tell them, and they say, what do you mean? Well, there's 10,000 agents, only 10 called you. So let me ask you, when you sell this home, Hamil, where are you going to move to?
Las Vegas.
So it's a good thing, you know, it doesn't matter, they have it, people don't call. So that's why I work expires, because there's less numbers. And there's nothing against open house, I don't do open houses. When I'm there, I love it. I get business from it, but I choose not to do it. But let me give you an example, and this is not putting open houses down. I'm just comparing open house lead versus calling an expired on Facebook. If there's open house in Anaheim Hills, right, there's at least 3 or 4 or 5 open houses, right? So the buyer, doesn't he usually go, or the family goes to all the 4 or 5? So don't the agents, 4 or 5 agents have your number, right? When you buy the expires, doesn't 10 agents have that number? So it's the same thing. So it doesn't matter because not everybody's gonna call. And remember, it's about you calling the right place, right time. You could call at 7 o'clock at night and I came home and I was ready, I was frustrated. You know what, I talked to 20 people and I'm tired of this. Agents calling me. Well, great. You know what, if you allow me to come over tonight or tomorrow, let's put it active so nobody's gonna call you. What time works for you, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock? See, so the right place, right time, right conversation. So don't worry about how many people get it. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's so many open houses out there, same leads, right? So with that, we'll conclude that portion and we'll do the role play, unless some of you have any comments or questions or,
You have a list of those websites that have the name?
Yeah, I can write it down.
Right, yeah,
Right.
is the-
It's working.
No, that's not up there.
Oh, I'm
Up
sorry.
there.
Okay, the one I used to use, which I don't, is read007.com. Then there is redx.com. And there is vulcan7.com. These include the dialer that comes with the dialer. It's about $300 a month. These are about $50 to $60 a month, depending on your territory. And that comes with expired and for sale by owner numbers. There's others out there. These are the things, those are the ones that I'm familiar with. A lot of agents that I know use these 3. And there's other dialers in there, there's Arch dialer and all that, so.
What's the bottom one?
VULCAN7.com. Or just Google Vulcan expires, it'll pop up.
How does the dialer work?
Well, what the dialer does is when you get the numbers,
Yeah,
like let's say I'm calling just listed, right? So I call my title company or go to Cole Realty Resource. And I know Beth asked me about that, where I get the numbers. I use Cole, C-O-L-E, Realty Resource. Sorry for my writing there. ColeRealtyResource.com. And what you can get from there is 2 kinds of numbers. They just started giving you cell phone numbers. So it's, I think, $800 a year for one, and then 800 or something for another one. So you can call them. But what I do is, if I just listed a property in North Tustin. So what I do is I go in the Cole Realty, they have a map. So I put the address, I go half a mile or a mile and get all the numbers. It gives me an Excel sheet, right? Once I get the Excel sheet, I upload it to my Vulcan. It goes in there and I hit dial and it dials for me. Automatic, so I don't have to dial. And then it gives me, Cole Realty, for example, gives me 3 or 4 numbers. So let's say you have a house and you rented it out. Sometimes it gives me your daughter's numbers or your brother's numbers. Whoever stayed in the house gives the number. So sometimes I call and say, well, I'm calling about the home for sale. Yeah, but that's my mom's house. Well, great. So you are on 555 Main Street, right? Right. I noticed it was for sale, and I'm trying to find out if your mom is accepting offers. What's your mom's phone number? They give me all the time.
so Cole Realty is another,
For your phone numbers, not for expires. For your
oh, okay.
for homeowners.
Is there a charge for that one too?
Resource. Those are numbers that are generic numbers like owners. And they also give cell phone numbers now.
Is there a charge for Cole Realty?
Yes. It's about $1,000. I don't know what it is. I get a special rate through Mike Ferry, but I got it last year. So yeah, but it's pretty reasonable because it's unlimited numbers. California, you can get as many as you want. And with the maps, you can draw maps. If you just want a condo complex, you can draw a map. Just get those. Or if you want a
Okay.
zip code, all the homes in 92805 zip code, all the numbers.
Can I add some more to that list?
Sure, please, yeah, if you want to write them down or.
Land The Land Boys?
Land Boys?
Yep, that's also my ferry company.
Okay, right.
Regal Gateway? Regal Gateway,
Gateway.
Land Voice, and Mojo Cells. MOJO Cells. That's a power dialer and leads.
I don't use this, but I've heard of them, yeah. And I do have Rebo, by the way, yeah.
When people have a caller ID, what comes up when you're dialing? Is it depending on where you're dialing from?
I don't know about these, but I use Vulcan.
Uh-huh.
You can put whatever number you want it to show. So
And
I put my cell phone number, because they will call back. Most of the people on cell phone will call you, they won't answer and call you back. So I put my cell phone number, but you can put first team or your home line or your business line, whatever. Yeah. You can choose, at least on this side, and I'm sure I don't know how RedX does it. Whatever number is, show the first team.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, so let's do a role play. And Luis, please welcome Luis Hernandez. He's from my office. So we're gonna do a role play, and the purpose of doing this is not to show you that we role play, whatever. There's a few things you wanna look at. Number one, and he's gonna pretend he's a seller, but what you wanna look at is observe that I'll be asking the questions, how I answer, and what the objective is. If he throws any objection, the whole objective is get an appointment, especially on X5. Either I want to drop him right away, or so we're gonna try it out. So are we ready?
Yeah, what are we doing, expired or?
Yeah, expired. We'll do expired. If you want to come closer,
Okay.
then we can. And usually we do it on the phone, but this is live. But pretend that we're on the phone. So I'm just gonna. And you know what? I just read this every day. I do have it memorized, but it's easy for me to focus and just read this. So ring ring.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. I'm looking for Luis.
Yeah, this is Luis. How can I help you?
Oh, hi, Luis. This is Mike Patel with First Team Real Estate, and I'm sure, Luis, you figured out that your home came up on the computer as an expired listing. And I was calling to see, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent?
No, honestly, this is like the 15th call I've gotten like in 5 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, 15 calls in 5 minutes. I totally understand. I'm surprised, Luis. There's 10,000 agents in Orange County, and I'm surprised only 15 called. I wonder what the other agents are doing. But regardless, Luis, if you sold this home, where would you go next?
You know what? It's maybe your Belinda, but even then, I mean, I'm gonna think about it. Maybe like in a year.
Wow,
So-
okay. You're gonna think about it for a year. It sounds like you're frustrated. You have the house for sale. I'm looking over here, you were on the market for 6 months. So I'm just curious, you were on the market for 6 months. If you would have gotten an offer at a price that was accepted, would have taken that?
Yeah, if someone gave me an offer, but
Okay.
there was no offers.
Okay,
So.
but now you wanna wait another year now?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Great.
thank you very much for giving me a call. I appreciate it, but
Sure, and thanks, Luis, for talking. At least you were kind enough to talk to me. Most sellers don't want to talk to me, but thank you for talking. But I had a quick question, Luis.
Mhm.
From the pictures, your house looked real nice, and I know that street on Maple Street.
correct.
What do you think is stopped your home from selling?
I didn't get an offer.
Okay.
Bottom
great.
line.
You didn't get any offer. Great. So how did you happen to pick the last agent? I believe they were from Tarbell.
Just a referral from a friend.
Okay. Referral from a friend. Great. And what did that agent do that you like best?
Well, I'd rather not talk about what the agent did or didn't do.
I totally
You know,
understand. Right. I know. Yeah, you are frustrated, and believe me, I get frustrated when homes don't sell. Because it changes the whole market. So I totally understand where you're coming
Correct.
from. But just one question: what do you feel they should have done to sell your home? Obviously, you want to go to your Belinda, but is there one thing that you
Give me an offer at my asking price. That's what I wanted.
Okay, so you want an offer, and you just want to sell the house, right?
Bottom line.
Right,
That's
right.
it.
So when you do sell in a year, Luis, have you already chosen an agent when you sell it in a year?
Not yet.
Okay, but you will consider interviewing other agents. You're not going with the same agent, are you?
No,
Okay.
I don't
Right.
want to deal with that anymore.
Right. Yeah. I was just curious, Luis. The market's very strong, and I really feel sorry that your house did not sell. But when you're ready, and hopefully it's today or maybe in a month or next year, when you're ready, I would like to apply for the job of selling your home. Are you aware with the techniques I used to sell homes, usually within 30 days?
No, I don't know that. But
Oh,
if
you're
you
kidding.
can, you could just mail me something. That'd be the best thing. And I'll
Great.
just put it aside.
Okay.
So when I'm ready, I can give you a call.
Sure. I'll be glad to do that. So what are you looking for when I mail a package? What are you looking for, Luis?
Maybe just your information, where you work, the properties you've sold, and you know,
Okay.
I'll put it aside. I'll make sure I'll give you a call back.
Sure, okay, so I'll be glad to do that. In fact, I'm gonna be in that area tomorrow, so I may just drop it off because mail's gonna take longer. So I may drop it off, but it sounds like you wanna see what the agent did, you wanna see what I did, you wanna see the track record, but on my hindsight, it sounds like you wanna sell the home, right? You feel like selling your home?
I mean, if I get the right price for it, yeah, I'll sell
Okay.
the house.
That's what I thought, and you know, because you've been on the market, usually sellers don't keep their homes in the market for 6 months. So let me do this. Let me show you my marketing plan. I have an 18-point marketing plan. If I can show you that I can sell your home in the next 30 days, get you the price that you wanted,
Mhm.
and get you moving to your Belinda. Do you have 20 minutes to talk to me? Is tonight better, or would you prefer tomorrow?
Well, what's the commission you guys charge?
Well, that's a great question. What you want to know how much I charge the commission? That's a very good question. So what you're saying, Luis, is when you sell your home, you want to net the most by selling your home, right?
Yes.
Right, great. So you know what, when I come out there at 6 tomorrow, that's the first thing we're gonna talk about. So are you okay at 6, or is tomorrow better at 7?
You know, if anything, you can drop something off, and I'll make sure to pick it up.
Well, since I'm coming, might as well bring it over, right? I mean, I'm gonna come at 6 or 7 tomorrow or today, so might as well bring it over.
Yeah.
And I can
well,
show you what I do to sell your home, and you do wanna net the most, right?
I do, but how long is it gonna take as far as like the house being on the market? Because I really just want to put it on the market, sell it. I want everything to be done within like 60 days
Wow.
tops.
Yep, I'm glad you asked this question. You know what, I'm glad you asked this question, Luis, because one particular reason. Our MLS shows that right now, as of June, they're taking 78 days to sell a home. But my statistic shows that I put a home in escrow in 21 days. Would you like to see how I can put your home in 21 days based on price, terms, and conditions? Maybe 30 days at the most?
I mean, I got to talk to my wife, but you know, I can take your name and number down.
Sure, sure.
You know,
Great.
and then I'll just give you a call back when we're
Sure.
ready.
Yeah, my number's on your cell phone. My name is Mike Patel.
Okay.
And I'm excited to drop you off the package, show you how I can sell your home in 30 days, get you the most money. So, and I understand you want to talk to your wife. I would want to talk to my wife as well. How about we do it tomorrow, and I'm assuming your wife will be there. Why don't we do this? Let's meet at 7 tomorrow. Hopefully your wife is there. I'll call you tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and if there's any change, we'll reschedule. How's that?
Yeah, that's fair. We can
Okay.
do that.
Okay, great. I'll look forward to seeing you at 7 o'clock. But before I come out there, Luis, at 7 o'clock, to save you time, I have a few questions. May I ask you those right now?
Sure.
So what I would do at that time is go to the pre-qualifying questions. Where are you gonna move? Why are you gonna move? How much do you own the house? What are you looking for an agent? So all those questions, when I go there, I'm prepared. Those are called the pre-qualifying questions. So half my appointment is done on the phone. So how much do you own the house? Well, I owe $350. Okay, good. Okay, so how much do you own a net? Well, I want to net this much, and I know you can't get that, so I know that I'm going to fight him on the price. Okay, so what are you looking for an agent? I know the other company could not sell it, but what do you want your agent to do? Well, I expect him to do open houses and put it on Zillow, blah, blah, blah. So I know what he wants, so I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to take my Zillow profile because he wants Zillow, show him my his. Or he may say, I want you to advertise in the Dream Homes magazine or Christie's magazine if it's a $1 million home. I'm going to take that. So he's giving me all the ammo that I need to go there. So thank you, and I'll look forward to seeing you at 7 o'clock. Do you have any questions before I come out there?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's one.
So that's what. So kind of makes sense. See, the reason you follow the script, no matter what they say, you're going to come back to it, and you repeat no matter what they say. I'm going to list with my dog. Oh, I can appreciate you're going to list with your dog. I can appreciate it. Hey, if I'm a better dog than your dog to sell your home, would you listen? I'm just give you an idea. No matter what they say, repeat it. I mean, you want to be smart about it, and I'm just driving a point. So that's the reason you use script. Number one, you stay in control. You stay on schedule. They don't throw you off because they're going to throw you a curveball. You're going to come back. I can appreciate it. What's the next question? Well, how did you happen to pick the last agent? No matter what they say, oh, what's the next question? So that's an expired. They're usually tougher. So we're going to do another one. And this is also, I call a lot of these. And this is a just listed script, or you can do a just sold. They're pretty much the same, except for the first sentence. So what a just listed is, and I'm sure you know already, is when I list a home, I pick 200 or 300 numbers in the area. Or if it's a condominium or a townhome complex, I just call that and say, hey, we just sold a house in the Smoke Ridge Terrace. So we're going to demo that. So you want me to be the seller or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Yeah, I'll be the, no, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be
Good.
the agent.
Yeah, you be the agent.
All right, okay. So we do the same thing. What you want to look for is how I follow the scripts, how I answer, repeat, and that's all it is. And sometimes they don't sell, that's fine. It's a numbers game, right? So he may say, no, well, I know, yeah, thanks for calling, but I'm gonna go out of here and take me in a casket. So just move, delete, that's gone. It's a numbers game. My goal is to talk to 20 people or 10 people or 5 people a day. Just move on. But once they engage with you, and if they're thinking about selling in the 3 months or 6 months, then it's a lead for you, right? You want to take it and do whatever you want to do. Okay. So this is a just listed script, and I'm going to follow the scripts. Hi, my name is Mike Patel with First Team Real Estate. Well, hold on. Ring, ring. So I will get the
Hello.
name right. Hi, is this Louise?
Yes, this is. How
Hi,
can I help
Louise.
you?
Hi, Louise. This is Mike Patel with First Team Real Estate, and I just listed a home for sale in your area over on Forest Street. It has 3 bedrooms and 3 baths, and it's listed for $689. So I was just wondering, Louise, who do you know that would like to move into our area?
Off the top of my head, I mean, I can't think of anybody, but how big was the house, square footage?
The
wise?
house was a 1662 square feet. It's the model with the bedroom downstairs. Are
Okay.
you familiar with that model?
Yeah, I believe so.
Great. Yeah, it's $689, and I appreciate you taking the time to think about it, talking about it. So tell me, Louise, when do you plan on moving?
You know what? I haven't thought of that, but honestly, I know I want to get out of here, but my wife, she's going to be retiring by the end of the year, so we were kind of thinking about it.
Okay. Sure. So your wife is retiring, but you're not too sure, and you may think about moving. That's great.
Right.
So how long have you lived at this address?
Ooh, been here for a while, maybe 20 years.
Wow,
So,
long time. Yeah.
yes,
I'm sure the area has changed since you bought the house.
definitely. Yeah,
Right.
there's a
Okay.
lot more people.
Right. Okay. And where'd you move from when you came here 20 years ago?
City of Orange, so
Okay.
not too far.
Great. City of Orange. Excellent. And how'd you happen to pick this area when you moved here?
It was very rural, so that's it.
Very rural at that
Yeah.
time. Right. Great. So Louise, you mentioned that you may think about moving. It depends on your wife, right? So if
Correct.
you were to move, where would you go next? And when
Um,
you're ready?
I would say somewhere out of state. You
Okay.
know?
Great.
So just a larger house.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Most of the sellers the homes I sell usually go to Las Vegas or Utah or Texas. Are you thinking about the same thing?
I was thinking maybe Oregon. So
Okay.
A
Great.
lot of land up there.
Right. Right. And when would that be? I mean, I know you're going to talk to your wife, but
Well, I mean, I'm retired already, but she's going to be retiring by the end of this year. So
okay.
at that point, so you said the house was how much? It was 700,000?
689. Right.
689?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So how much you think maybe like a 1,500 square foot house would sell for?
Well, that's a good question, and there's one on the market. I'm not sure the square footage, but what I like to do is maybe come and take a look at your house, or bring you some comps and show you and go through what the homes are selling in the area. Of course, when your wife is there, I can show you there's 3 models in this track. There's a 2 bedrooms, a 3 bedrooms, and the largest model. So I can show you what's going on with the market, and that way you and your wife can decide when you're ready to move. Would you like me to do that and just come and chat with you, or?
I mean, you can always shoot me an email.
Okay.
I can give you my email address.
Great.
It'll be all right.
Sure. Okay. So I'll stop at that, but just want to let you know it's a lead. So I'm not going to push myself for an appointment. So you have to decide. Well, if you said, you know what, my wife retires in June next year, so I'm not going to go there. It's a year away. Or she might say, you know what, she's going to retire in December. Now I'm going to go to the door. Say, you know what, great. Whatever you say, I'm going to come to the door, drop off something. So that's a lead. But you get the idea of how I role played and stuck with the questions. No matter what they say, just go to the next question, listen to what they say, and use whatever they say to get more information out. This was an okay lead. I could have worked with you, maybe not. So the leads is whatever you call it, anything that sells in the next 7 days or a year, whatever you call it. This was a B lead for me it would be a B lead, assuming you're going to sell it next year. So I would send him a note, and I'll talk about follow-up and all that in the next 15 minutes. Then we've done in about 10 minutes. So let's give Louise a hand for a rating. All right. Okay. So I'm going to talk about follow-up. But any questions about the role play, or any questions or comments or anything? Okay. So we're doing fine on time, Terry. 10 more minutes, and we should be. So I talked earlier about generating leads, whether it's open houses or door knocking or marketing, whatever. You must have a follow-up system. When it comes to calling, at least I know that 70% of your appointments that you're going to get is from your lead follow-up. So let's say Luis called me and he wants to move next year in June. So I have to decide, do I want to work that lead? It's 1 year away. So chances are I may not work that lead. I may put it down and make a note, hey, they might move in June and call you in December. These days, there's automatic systems. So I can, when I use Vulcan system, for example, it has a call back number. So if I'm calling from Vulcan, the great thing about it is I can make a note and say, talk to Luis today. He's going to move when wife retires in June. So I may put February 1st, call Luis. So it'll pop up on my calendar and say, call Luis. So I may do that, although it's not really a lead. So that's one way of doing it. Talking about follow-up system, I have 3 follow-up systems that I use. The first one that I use, it's like a top producer. You've heard of top producer and the referral maker, and there's so many there's so many out there. And those are, you put them in there, they remind you. But I use that system for print mail out. So I mail out to my sphere once a month. There's a mail merge and things that does all that. So I use that system. And if I have expired or FISBOs, then I just use this system, because on Vulcan, they have a follow-up system. So if it's a hot lead, if he tells me that, hey, I'm going to call me next week, my wife is coming, then I print it out and I use my manual system, which I'm going to talk in a minute. But if it's a long-term lead, it reminds me on January 1st to call Louise. Then I found out, hey, are you still thinking about moving next year when your wife retires? And he may say, you know what, my wife is going to work 2 more years because she wants to increase her whatever pension. Then I delete that. So it's a quick follow-up, but that's one way to follow up. And a lot of your top producers and all that does the same thing. So you can put them in there. It reminds you that January 1st, call this person, and you can follow up that way. The second CRM system I use is if I get a lead from Zillow or social media or LinkedIn or internet lead, I use Contactually, which most of you use, and you know what that does. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's got drip systems, it's got newsletter mailouts, it's got templates, asking for referrals, it's got a lot of stuff which I use, and I'm still getting used to it. It's a great system. I just started using it about a month ago, so I'm learning a lot of stuff, but already I'm liking it. It's got a lot of stuff. So I use Contactually for my internet leads. I don't put my past clients. I'm going to do that eventually, but I need to get used to it. Once I'm used to it, in 3-4 months, I'll close the top producer and use this system. So I can use it for drips or emails, or open house people want to mail out things and reminds me. The third system I use, which is the most powerful one, is my follow-up system, manual follow-up system. And I forgot to bring it in my car. But you all know what an accordion file is, right? An accordion file, I have 2 systems. One has months in there, January, February, March, and December. And the other one has 1 to 30 days. So if I talk to Luis and he said, yeah, I'm going to think about selling next year in June when my wife retires, then my goal would be to list the home in March, April, because it takes 2-3 months to sell it. So that means I want to start calling him November, December. So November, I'm going to put that lead in November in my accordion file. This is a manual system because it's a manual call. And then in November, I'll call Luis and follow. Hey, Luis, I talked to you and you're probably not going to remember you. But you mentioned that when your wife retires, you're going to sell in June. So I'm just following up with you. Are you still there or what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's going to retire. She's going to retire early because she has health issues. So now I put her in every 15 days. Now she goes in my daily follow-up because I'm going to call you in 2 weeks and follow up and ask for an appointment. So that's how I do the manual system. I go by the month if it's long-term, or if I call somebody and say, yeah, you know what? I am thinking about selling. I'm at the airport right now, and I've called people where they're just boarding the flight. So call me next week. So it's a Thursday. So this lead that I got, I put it on Thursday and make a note here that he's going to come back at 3 o'clock from the airport. So when I call him at 5 on Thursday, I pull out everything on Thursday. So that's my manual system, but that's my most powerful system. So all my expireds or hot leads go in the manual system because I check it every day. Well, I don't, but I do check it. So it's a very easy follow-up system. I use, like I said, a system like Truck Producer. It's called the Referral Maker. It has email send out. It has mail merge. It has templates. I use Contactually, and I use the follow-ups. But here's one thing I'm going to talk about follow-up, and then I'm going to call it a day. Follow-up is only good if the lead is any good. And I've wasted a lot of time, and we keep following up, and we keep following up. But there's a certain point you have to put on your follow-up system. Like what I've started doing now is if I call a person and talk to them 3 or 4 times and 5 times. If I don't get an appointment and they want to sell, but I don't get an appointment, I trash them. So your goal is to trash your leads. Well, no, I take that back. Your goal is to get that appointment. If you don't get it, trash it faster. Because what happens is, and I've done this, I talk from experience, I was following up on so many leads. I send them a card. I try to be amiable personality when I do follow-up, and which is not good. I want to send them a card. I want to send them a pumpkin. I want to send them chocolates. And hey, if they're not going to sell, they're not going to sell. So on your follow-up, your goal is to get an appointment, right? That's what a lead is, right? They're going to sell. Luis is going to sell. Now, he told me he's going to sell when the wife, that's a condition. I cannot change anything about it. I'm not going to call him till January, right? But if somebody told me, Bob said, I'm going to think about selling in 2 months or 3 months, and every time I call him, he brushes me away. After 3rd or 4th or 5th, you decide. If you don't get an appointment, trash that lead. And the reason you want to do that, because you can spend so much time following up with a lead that you don't have time to get new leads. But your objective is to get new leads, get appointment with your follow-ups, and trash them faster, because you're going to get new leads. And the reason you don't get new leads is because you're sticking with your old leads, and that's comfort. You know, it's like you're hanging on to your wife. You know, don't go. You know, that's a bad example. But and my wife is thinking about leaving. As long as she gives me smoothies, she ain't going nowhere. So I think I'll call it a day. Hope that helps. If anybody has any questions, please ask me. If you need anything, information or other websites, or if you want to practice role play with me, I'll be glad to talk to you for an hour. Feel free to call me, and I'll be glad to talk to you. You don't have to give me a referral or anything. I'll be glad to help you. Yes, you had a question there.
Where have you found are better times, best practices to call as far as the time?
Okay, when I call, whether any calls that I make is always in the morning from 8 to 10. And for 2 reasons that I call. One is I've been taught by all the coaches to call 8 to 10. Those are the best times. Doesn't mean that if you call at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock, it doesn't work. But here's why they tell you, all the coaches train you to call 8 to 10 for 2 reasons. Number one, from 8 to 10, you are energetic. You are enthusiastic. You are fresh. You've had your donuts. You've had your smoothies. You're good to go. You don't have the call from the escrow, the termite, or somebody, you know, to throw you off. You haven't checked your email. So you're best suited to call in the morning. So that's what they recommend. But, you know, I may have to talk to my kids every morning, so I don't get to the office at 10 o'clock. You know, by the time I drop off my wife or this, you know, whatever time you call, make it consistent. It doesn't matter when you call. You could call at 3 o'clock. I've called sometimes, if I have like Tuesday mornings, we have a meeting. Then I have a coaching call on Tuesday, so I don't get to call in the morning, right? So I call at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So it doesn't matter when you call. The key is no matter when you call at the same time every day if you can, or every other day, but do it consistently, because you know what? Somebody's going to answer the phones. Some people go to work in the morning. Some people tell me, well, I don't call at 8 o'clock because people go to work. Well, I tell them, you know, I don't like to call at 6 to 7 because they're having dinner. I don't like to call at 2 or 3 o'clock because they're taking a nap. It doesn't matter. Somebody is going to answer the phone. And now with the cell phones, they could be anywhere. I use Core Realty Resource. I get cell phone, and they answer the phone. Oh, hi, yeah, this is Cindy. How can, you know, I know it's a cell phone at work, but I still talk to them. Unless they say, you know what, I'm at work, can you call me later? Then I respect that. So anytime is a good time to call as long as you're consistent. The best time, according to the gurus, is 8 to 10 in the morning. Or most effective time, if that works for you. Any other questions, or we'll call it a day, and we're going to get to the office and start calling? Okay, well, thanks, Terry, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Mike.